And now let's cross over to the German capital and bring in Ulrich Bruckner. He's a professor of European Studies at the Stanford University in Berlin. Great to have you here with us on the News Hour. See, this is one question that I think many people are struggling to understand. What is Donald Trump trying to achieve here? Because if it's about prosperity for American economy, I think there's consensus among economists that these tariffs might not lead the U.S. that way.
Well, that's exactly the point. You say economists understand this, and that assumes that the person who takes a random decision is aware of what he's doing and he's aware of how a global economy works. Donald Trump is obsessed with this idea of manufacturing and the tool of tariffs. You can look back to something like the 1990s when he gave an interview to Playboy magazine in which he explained that the world is so unfair and it can't wait to exploit the United States, and therefore tariffs have to be used. This is as if I go to my grocery and explain that there is a deficit with a grocery because they don't buy anything back from me. This is such a simplistic, one-sided look at the economy, not only a bilateral one, because when we only look at the European Union and the United States, then yes, we have a trade surplus in the European Union, but we have a huge deficit in services. And this is not even mentioned in his line of argumentation. So what he's trying to do is to build a big shock and awe theater that he can use in bilateral negotiations to maximize gains. And this is not only about trade, this is connecting topics like getting access to minerals and rare earth, or to force China to accept a sale from TikTok to an American investor. So all of these random things are put together, and he uses trade politics to make it happen.
Let's talk about what is likely to happen in the future, because if you look at Donald Trump's tariffs right now, they're not placed on one or two countries. It's not on isolated countries. He has basically placed tariffs on the whole world. So what I wonder, do you see a possibility where countries across the world, major Western nations, might unite against the U.S.?
Well, we all benefited greatly in, ironically, a system that was brought to us with the help of the hegemon, the United States, after World War II. So it reduced poverty, it increased wealth, it didn't equally distribute the wealth, but a multilateral order based on the rule of law and a system in which international organizations play an important role in cases of conflict. This system made us as rich as we became. And now Donald Trump wants to dump this system and rather play a power play with bilateral agreements. Of course, the rest of the world has all the reasons to think about, can we build a new global order that is based on the rule of law and that provides trust and common goods that bilateral agreements can't provide. So we see already bilateral agreements in restoring a system like this. China is reaching out to the European Union, and all the bilateral agreements that have been signed with the European Union and other partners point in the direction that everyone is interested in foreseeable, predictable conditions for a very complex system of supply chains. So if the United States is out, maybe others form a new global order that hopefully is also more fair.
Of course, we'll have to wait and see whether or not that happens. Professor, before I let you go, I understand European Union leaders are calculating their response now. It's not certain what kind of response they're going to come up with. But let me ask you, can the EU, as the EU stands right now, can the EU afford to lose the United States?
Well, it would be a very silly perspective to end what was not only a successful economic model, but this is the DNA, what we stand for. The Western values, the principles, the democratic rule of law, the Western market economy based on certain principles, and most importantly, freedom rights for consumers and individuals. This was a model that holds us together. And to end this and to declare a trade war that works both ways and it only leads to a lose-lose, this would be a very silly thing. And I'm very optimistic that the European Union sees that on the one hand, they need to flex muscles. On the other hand, it would only harm both partners and the rest of the world. So they will be very careful in their responses.
Professor Ulrich Bruckner, thanks very much for joining me here on TRT World. Appreciate your taking out the time.